Hi, it's Rob Moore here and welcome to The Disruptive Entrepreneur. So we're disrupting our own podcast today and interviewing someone very different. So if you watch TV in the 80s and early 90s, you'll know this man. He's absolutely famous. He's John Challis, or also known as Boycie from Only Fools and Horses. We're in Shrewsbury. He's actually here in the theatre. He's doing an evening with. And so we've come up here, we've actually just finished interviewing him, and you're going to see the interview now, which I think you'll really love.
I saw Piers Morgan's evening show last night.
What's your report on it?
Frightful. I thought it was awful.
Oh.
I turned it off. I mean,
Really?
I was quite interested because he does this good morning thing.
Yeah.
And, because he's such a football person, they decided after the England game, they'd do the evening thing with Susanna Reid as well, who's his partner, and he just never stopped talking.
Oh.
And he's just so arrogant. I mean, oh God, dear. Unwatchable.
Yeah. Ah, that's a shame.
It is, isn't it?
Made quite a good living talking, though, hasn't it?
It certainly has.
Yeah. John, thank you for doing the podcast.
Have I done it already?
Ah, well,
I didn't even notice.
Thank you for being here to start.
Cheers.
So, you're obviously famously known for one main character. How have you managed to adapt and continue your career afterwards, being, I guess what you could say is pretty typecast?
Yeah, typecast a funny word,
And correct me, by the way, if I get any of this wrong.
So, I was going to say typecast a funny word to me, because I'm not that type at all. It just so happens that I got well known for a particular role, and therefore that's how people see me.
Yeah.
I mean, Peter Bowles, who I worked with a couple of times over the years, sort of summed it up. He said, because he's known for one particular type of role, I suppose you say.
Yeah.
He said, the trouble is that if you're any good and you get into something that is quite good that people want to watch, that's it for the rest of your career, whatever else you do. So, I mean, I wouldn't say I was typecast at all, really, but that's sort of how people see you, because they see you being successful in a particular role. So, I've got a role like that, so so he must be the man for the job, do you know? But to me, it's, I should be so lucky, really. When you start off in the profession, you want to, you sort of dream about becoming a sort of a household name and well known for something, and it happens. You can't suddenly say, "Oh no, I don't want that anymore," and because I've been in the business over 50 years, and I've been up and down and roundabout and in and out. You can imagine.
Yeah.
And I've worked all over lots of places, different places in the world, and National Theatre and Royal Shakespeare Company. But nobody wants to talk about that. No.
Well, I'll happily talk about that, because you've been in a lot of theatre and film and TV, haven't you? A lot.
Yes, I have. Yes, I've been lucky most of the time, I suppose, in the right place at the right time. And I grew up in the theatre. That's what I first saw when I was about 6 years old. And my parents took me to see Peter Pan. And it just blew me away in modern parlance. I just was transfixed by this sort of, I describe it as a sort of moving chocolate box cover. It's those pretty chocolate box covers you used to have. And I was hypnotised by it, and particularly by Captain Hook, who I thought was just fantastic. Yeah. And that's who I wanted to be. And that looking back, because I'm writing my autobiography, looking back, I think that was it. That was the start of it, really.
And so you always knew that's what you wanted to do. There was never you were unshakably, I want to be an actor, I want to be in theatre.
No, I wanted to be Captain Hook.
It's a question, by the way.
I wanted to be Captain Hook. And I was Captain Hook for about 3 months of my life and drove my mother insane. But I was dashing about with an imaginary sword and a tricorn hat, and being horrible to other children. No, but I mean, and I found I had a facility for mimicry. I was fascinated by other people, and I'd copy them, which again drove my parents insane. Yeah. Because I'd hear an accent, and I'd try to copy it,
Which ones are your favourite?
Favourites? Oh, gosh, I don't know. I suppose, I don't know. I liked, my father came from Sheffield, I look there, they don't like that, you know. So I said, oh, thanks, don't stop it, you know. But my mother came from West Country, and in Bath in Somerset, and she had a lot of mad uncles, farmers out in the country, and of course down here he talk a bit like more like stop it. You see, but that was me, and I just hear it, and also not only the way people spoke, more particularly about the way people spoke, but also Freudian slip, the way they smoked too. Yeah. In the good old days when you were allowed to smoke, I don't know, you probably don't, you're far too young to remember. But people used to smoke in the most extraordinary ways. It was sort of extravagant type smokers. Yeah. And a very secret hole in the corner type smoker. And I practiced.
What was your style?
Mine? I don't know. I'd put an ashtray somewhere and I'd never get any ash in it. So I was quite extravagant, I suppose. And occasionally, of course, you know, particularly in cinemas, for some reason, your fingers would slide down to the burnt end of the cigarette, and then the cigarette would fall and start rolling down the slope of the. I mean, it's all those things that just amuse me, you know. And my dad was a great humorist. He loved strangely American humour. Robert Benchley, the Marx Brothers, all that, and he sort of introduced me to those as well. And I grew up with the Goon Show, Spike Milligan's crazy anarchic show, and I loved all the voices, Peter Sellers' voices. Hello, Captain, how are you today? You know, I could do all those sort of things, and I was desperate to do them because he was my hero, you know. And my dad introduced me to a French comedian called Jacques Tati, Monsieur Hulot. Wonderful character, you know. I was just riveted by him, and again, I wanted to be him, so I practiced being Monsieur Hulot. So it was absolutely natural that I finished up doing what I did. Mind you, I was put off it, and I had a false start. I became articled to an estate agent's firm.
Yeah, I remember reading
but,
that.
I mean, it's hopeless. Because everybody said, oh, you've got to have a safe, steady, secure job. You know, my parents particularly were very worried about me because I didn't show any interest in following Dad in the civil service or anything like that. I just like mucking about and pretending to be other people. Did
that cause friction when you were younger? Or?
Yeah, it did a bit, yeah. And then my mother, I think, was secretly quite pleased because she did a bit of amateur work. Yeah. So she had a bit of the actress in her. But my dad was a self-made man and believed in, he had a very strong work ethic. And he produced a child that did no work whatsoever, really. But just, as I say, mucked about most of the time. I was quite good at sport. I might have become a cricketer or something like that. That was the other thing I might have done. Yeah. But I also picked up a guitar at the start of rock and roll in the late 50s and formed a little band, so I needed to perform. But that's the other thing I wanted to be, was a lead guitarist in a rock and roll band.
Right. And you basically got to make a living out of experimenting and playing and being creative and doing all the things you wanted to do? Yeah,
at school I impersonated the masters, and I was in all the school plays.
And now you're getting paid for it.
No, now I'm getting paid, that's right. Yeah. And I was seeing the most natural thing in the world to me, to be on a stage. Yeah. Being somebody else. Very odd, really. My first serious part at school was that of a girl. I was very good. Very interesting. I graduated to older women after that, and then I started playing men, and it just seemed the way to go. But as I say, everybody put me off it. The headmaster, my parents, and
did you feel like that squashed you, or did that make you want to go and do it even more?
Well, I just I reverted to type. I was sitting in an office really, and I started inventing spurious deals with imaginary clients, and I got sacked.
Right.
You know, and
that's convenient.
So I wandered about for a bit, and then eventually found an advertisement for a travelling children's theatre. It was on the road the whole time, different town every day, doing little plays like Pinocchio in schools. And I sort of ran away to join the circus, I suppose, really, because I was still living at home, but I was about 19 and my parents were away, and I just went and did this audition and went off to Birkenhead and joined a travelling children's theatre. And that was it. And then I graduated to repertory, and I did 3 or 4 years of that. Then I got in the West End, then I got in the Royal Shakespeare Company, and then television came over the horizon.
Yeah.
And here I am.
And here you are. So I have this belief that if anyone's got this thing inside them, whether it's acting, impersonating, being funny, any kind of creative, I think you know when you've got this thing, and then society convinces you, well, that's risky, you better go and do architecture or be a doctor. What would you say to that person that, like you, had this non-standard profession or passion that you wanted to do? Would you say to them, just go for it, or do evenings and weekends? Because in a way it could be risky. I mean, your career isn't one that one would necessarily reverse engineer and model like a doctor or a dentist, are they?
No, it's not. It's a lot easier when I was young, because if you had anything about you at all, the word would get around and you get passed around the repertories, which is the early part of my life, because you were useful. Because you could get up and say a few lines, and you could put a beard on, pretend to be an old person. And also you could do stage management, so they had 2 for the price of 1, you see. It's not so easy these days, but all I'd say is if it's in you, do it. If you want to do it, try it. I mean, you may fail, but as the man said, try again, fail better, you know. But do try it. I mean, so many people don't and regret it. I remember a girlfriend I had, and she had an uncle who was a jolly nice man, and he was a bank manager, sort of the Coots banking empire. I mean, successful, very successful. But we'd go down there for the weekend, and he'd have rather too much to drink, probably, and then he'd put on opera records, and he'd start to sing along with the tenor part in this sort of cracked tenor, and then burst into tears. And I saw this happen 2 or 3 times. And eventually I said, why do you always burst into tears? Oh, it was wonderful music and all that. Is that it? He said, no. He said, it's because I never tried it. He said, I always wanted to sing. I always wanted to sing this, you know, whatever it was, this particular opera. And he never did it. And same as me, I mean, in a different generation, but he was put off it because it was considered not what you do. So he went into the family banking firm and was very successful, as I say, but always regretted that he hadn't done it, hadn't tried it.
Yeah, it's funny that, because I've found, and I've since read up on this, you know, those burning dreams we have, the playful, the creative, they don't seem to ever go away.
No.
So you might as well start now and early.
Yeah.
Otherwise you'll be 70 and wishing you did.
Yeah. Yes, I mean, should I go to drama school? Should I say, well, if you want to go to drama school, do it, audition, you know, and learn some speeches and go and have a go. I mean, you may go to drama school and find that you don't want to act at all, but you like to produce, for instance. You'd like to be a stage manager. I mean, there's all sorts of things, a voice coach, all sorts of things, dance, singing, to discover all those things, but just have a go, is what I'd say.
So I guess a lot of people get quite crippled by fear. And I guess as an actor, and I guess it's probably more raw and visceral in the theatre, you must have had to deal with the fear of rejection, getting heckled, getting rejected from parts. Has that been a monkey on your back ever?
No, I just get annoyed.
Oh. So you don't take it inward?
No, not really. I just, you know, obviously, I mean, every actor has great disappointments, and you go out for things you know you're right for, you know you could do terribly well, and you don't get it. You know, and you feel rejection, and some people, it's a very cruel profession from that point of view, so you're going to be quite tough, really. But I think... Were you
always tough, or did it toughen you?
No, I think my luck was that I never took it very seriously.
Right.
I think it's very difficult for people who are absolutely dedicated and very serious about their job. It's like your golf swing, you know. I don't know if you're sporty, but people who play golf.
Yeah. And they have that kind of swing where they're so rigid.
Just but you know, and one shot just sort of fades off the fairway, and it's like apocalyptic. As far as it's the end of the world.
That was me when I was a teenager. Yeah.
Well, I know I was a bit the same at tennis. I'm just saying that was my best game, I suppose. But no, I think you can't possibly take it seriously.
No.
Really. Dressing up and pretending to be other people, wearing colourful clothes and projecting your voice all over the place. It's ridiculous. So as long as you have that, it's a sort of quite a good defence mechanism.
Yeah.
So you're going to get rejected like everybody else, but you just go, bollocks. I think something else around the corner.
I think there's more wisdom in that than maybe you're letting on, because I've found the more you want something and you place importance, this is a big thing in my life, this could be the turning point, this could be where everything gets massive, you just put a whole load of pressure on yourself. What you seem to naturally do is not take things too seriously. But actually, if you have that attitude, of course you try hard, but you don't take the outcome too seriously, you're probably going to be better anyway.
Yeah, I think so, yes. Yes, I don't think it changes the fact that you still like to do what you do, you know, and you seem to be surrounded sometimes by people who are trying to stop you doing what you do. You know, but no, as I say, and I've always sort of it's the same at school. I couldn't concentrate for more than 5 minutes really on anything, and I always thought there was something else. I mean, halfway through, I opened a garden centre, for instance, because I was interested in gardening. I thought, well, I would say, with it. I'll open a garden centre. But it was a disaster. Really, financially, because I'm no businessman at all. But I learnt an awful lot about gardening. And luckily, sort of like fate on the end of it, the director I knew sort of came up and offered me a part in a 6-part Doctor Who.
Right.
In the mid-70s. And it really kick-started me, you know, because I'd given up, I'd just gone to that, I can't be bothered with all this. But it was just the happiest job I think I ever did.
Yeah.
That. And it was a launch pad really, because a lot of good things happened after that. But I needed a kick in the right direction really. Stop being so lazy and feeling sorry for myself.
And who gave you that?
This director called Douglas Camfield, who I'd worked for several times before. And because I said, oh no, I'm not sort of doing acting anymore. He said, don't be stupid. Yes, you are. Of course you are. oh, sorry. Yeah, okay. Oh yes. No, I think it's, as I say, it's in you, and it was cathartic because that job made me sort of realise that this is what I was best at and what I really enjoyed doing. You know?
So. For people who may not know, can you just talk us through how you landed the part, your most famous part as Boycie, and and in taking us through that journey, was there a point when you thought this is going to be huge, or wasn't there?
It was lucky that I got it really, right time, right place, I suppose. I'd actually got into a repertory company, a British-American repertory company. The idea was that half the company was English, half American. We do an equal amount of time in both countries. And these are 2 plays by Tom Stoppard, his early stuff. And I'd been in the West End in a play called Dirty Linen, which was his. And he asked me to be part of this repertory company. And I finished up on Broadway. With this successful Tom Stoppard play. And then went on tour. And I got seduced by America, really. I thought this is the first time I'd been there, you know, and this is where the future lay, and a lot of people saying nice things. But I had to sort of stick around to meet the right people. And I ran out of money, really. Things weren't quite working out how they might have done. And my agent said, you've been offered a part in a new comedy series in England. You coming back to do it or not? Near as a toucher, I stayed in America. But I thought I'd better keep my hand in here, just in case. And this was a part in a new series called Citizen Smith, starring Robert Lindsay, written by a man called John Sullivan. And he was a part of a policeman. He was quite a sort of slidey, sort of bent policeman type. And I just remembered a character I knew in a pub in southwest London, who had this curious way of talking like this, man of mystery, bit of a Walter Mitty type, So I sort of invested this policeman with a bit of this, particularly this voice, you see, like this goes quite well with the policeman.
So you brought this to the party?
Yeah. I played an awful lot of policemen. I was sort of thinking, I've got to do something different. The result was John Sullivan came up to me afterwards and said, I really like what you've done with that policeman. He said, I'm going to try and use it again one day.
Yeah.
And I went, oh, thank you very much. Didn't think any more of it. And a year later, I was at the National Theatre by this point, trying to become a proper actor. Anyway, this envelope came through the door and it was a script written by John Sullivan. Same producer-director, a man called Ray Butt. And it was a new comedy series called Only Fools and Horses. Would I play this just one scene, little cameo role of a second-hand car dealer. And I tied up the two things. Oh, I see. Or perhaps he has remembered it. So I had to change it a bit, but I just did this one scene. Fine, nobody said anything except thank you and goodbye, really. And I guess it was about 9 months later, the second series came up. Would I come back and do another episode? This time the character was much more heavily featured. And then in the next series there was another episode, and Marlene had been mentioned, you see, and then Marlene became this sort of her indoors character. And then Marlene appeared in about the fourth or fifth series. By this time it was about 1985. And I suppose it was then you sort of realised that you were onto something, because we all noticed it. People started coming up and saying they love the show and shaking our hands and saying thanks for the laughs and so on, which had really never happened to anybody before to such an extent. So that was the first feeling, I think, that we were really onto something.
Yeah.
And then it became year after year, all through the 80s. I mean, it got bigger and bigger and millions of viewers. Only 3 channels, though, this time.
Yeah.
Which was crucial, but we were getting 15 million. Amazing.
Wow.
Absolutely amazing. But relatively few shows, only about 6 per year, plus maybe a Christmas special as well. Then we started doing more specials, but you just realised you were onto something big, because the other thing that happened was the periphery characters. It was myself and Trigger, Kenny MacDonald, who played Mike Fisher, the proprietor of the Nag's Head, Mickey Pearce to a lesser extent. They suddenly got into more and more episodes. And they became more and more part of the stories, and there was always a scene in the Nag's Head for us. And it was a great ensemble piece by the end.
And do you think they were written in more because you became really popular, or because they wanted to evolve the show, or both?
I think it was a natural way for the show to evolve. I think. Because it started off really with Del and Rodney and Grandad, then Paul Leonard Pierce passed away, I think about the 4th series. That was a big shock. And then Uncle Albert came into it, so you had the 3 of them back in Nelson Mandela Mansions. And that was it, because you always say you need the young fool, the middle fool and the old fool. And then you've got some really great situations. But of course they have to then spread out. Where are they going? Where are they going? Down the pub. That's the Nag's Head became the fulcrum of the show, really. And all the old lags were in in the Nag's Head, and then the girls came in, and so they got married, and that, so you can see the whole thing sort of evolving. Because it's hard to write up to that standard. Week after week.
Yeah.
And I know John struggled on a couple of occasions because he was an absolute perfectionist. I mean, he couldn't bear to sort of put out anything that he thought was second rate. So rather than do that, he'd say, "Oh no, I'm not doing a series. I'll do a special. I won't do a series." But then the next year, he'd have the muse had come back, and he'd write 6 episodes. But very lucky to have been part of it, really. And then of course, you thought, well, this can't get any better. And then eventually it was all over. Years going by, mind you, they won all the money. This time next year, Rodders will be millionaires, and they became millionaires. An extraordinary thing. It's a great compliment, really. That last scene when Del and Rodney had won the money, they bought the rolls from Boycie, and he came back into the Nag's Head, and all the Denizens sort of got up and gave him a round of applause. Very moving, including Boycie reluctantly at the end. I mean, we were just filming that last episode, the studio in Wood Lane, and the extraordinary thing was that the studio audience got up and gave us a standing ovation. And that had never been heard of at the BBC before. And it went on and on and on. And we're standing there going, because nobody wanted it to finish, really.
No. Maybe it's good to go out that way, though.
Yeah. But of course, 5 years later, it came back again, and they'd lost all the money because John was always under such pressure to write some more. And we lost a few of the cast by then. I mean, I thought that was the right ending, that they finished up back at square one.
Yeah.
But it was still massive. I mean, it's extraordinary.
How many series were there in the end?
Only about 7.
Yeah.
7 series and 10 maybe more than 10 specials. I mean, big shows, so they'd be an hour long, an hour and a half long or something. And it's still going, of course. I mean, it's still on every day.
Yeah.
And then, lo and behold, after that, me and Marlene did a spin-off series, which is just amazing. And that was all inspired by the fact that I'd moved out of London, and we found this extraordinary place in Herefordshire. And John Sullivan came to a party there, and he just thought, I wonder what would happen if the character did what John's done. Why would Boycie leave London? No idea. Until he realised that, of course, he was being chased by the Driscoll brothers, and that was it. So, amazing.
Did that? Would you say it changed your life?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It changed everybody's life, I think.
How was it? How was your life different? Once it got big.
Well, because you're meeting an awful lot of people that would have walked past you in the street and not even noticed who you were before. But everywhere you went, people would smile. Oh, yeah. Oh, God. There are all these stories about, God, it really helped me through a difficult time. And there's an extraordinary story about this woman whose son had had a terrible motorbike accident and was in a coma. And she swore that it was Only Fools and Horses that brought him out of it.
Wow.
Because they kept playing the theme tune and the episodes that he liked over and over and again, and gradually he came out of it. And she swore it was the show they'd done. And those sort of stories, feel there's a real value to it there. Amazing. No, I mean, we all knew that however good we were, wherever we were, it was the National Theatre, the Royal Shakespeare Company, Broadway, whatever it was, however good we were never going to do anything as famous as that.
Yeah. And how was that to move on from that, knowing that maybe that was the apex? The apex. Is that how I said it?
No, it's a good word though, apex, isn't it? Apex. I don't know, well, you just hope something else is going to happen, And in my case, it did with the spin-off, of course, and also this collateral stuff. The whole time, people wanted to go and speak places.
Yeah.
I'd always written stuff down. I wrote a whole bunch of stuff when we moved down to Herefordshire, a lot of which went into the green grass. And so I always thought there was going to be something else, but there's always something. Somebody always wanted you to do something, to appear something, and have to speak. So you had all that life as well, plus other bits and pieces along the way. I did a whole series of Alan Ayckbourn plays with Sue Holderness, who played Marlene. We worked very well together. Yeah, we're still great chums. So there was always something. There's always something going on.
Yeah, it's funny how I initially asked about, how do you maybe put yourself in a box for the rest of your career, but on the flip side of it, keeps giving you the gift of all these opportunities.
Yeah, it does. It
20,
does.
30
It
years
does
later.
close a few doors, I guess, because you're always associated with it.
Mm.
I remember a friend of mine who was a director who was doing a lot of drama. And you think, oh, that'd be the way to go, do a bit of drama instead of comedy. And he said, I'd love to have you in London's Burning or something like that, but I can't have this comedy face walking on. People go, oh, it's him from, and there's a sort of reality show like that, So those doors close, but other ones you never expect open for you, because you're this bloke off the telly and a bit of a novelty, really, for people. And everybody wants to know the stories. Yeah. So that's what this show is about, really.
Right. So I'm a big fan of autobiographies, and I know you've got your epic two-parter. So without ruining too much from your books, because I'd like to let everyone know about that at the end, but can you give us a couple of maybe stories that people don't know about, maybe about you or Only Fools and Horses, maybe something in the book that's interesting?
Interesting? Well, I don't know. I met the Beatles.
Yeah?
And I should have been in the Magical Mystery Tour.
Right.
I got the part. But I couldn't do it because I'd already agreed to do something else, and the dates clashed by 2 days. So I never got to work with them. But I always felt I had a sort of rapport with John Lennon.
Yeah.
Because we both loved the Goon Show for a start, and it was very funny. Really, I made one of the great gaffes of my life, I suppose. Quite innocent about. Because he said, "Oh, John, have you got a favourite Beatles tune? Which we can put in the show?" And I actually said, actually, I prefer the Rolling Stones. And of course, I just went, oh, what have I done? It's a long pause, and eventually Lennon said, actually, I think you're right. I prefer them sometimes too, And he said, anyway, come on, we'll have a blast. We'll all get in the coach, and we don't know what we're doing. We haven't got a script or anything like that, almost. I thought, Christ, I ain't going to work with these guys, But as I say, I couldn't do it. The dates clashed and the BBC wouldn't release me.
Yeah.
So talk about disappointments.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a major one. I don't know, story about Oliver Reed, our first film part I ever had. Quite a nice part, sort of a military type figure, and I went off the first day's filming. There's Susan George was in it, Harry Andrews, Toshiro Mifune, and some Chinese kung fu artist whose name I can't remember, or somebody, and they broke the hotel up that night, first night.
Wow.
And the reason for that was Oliver Reed, who was slightly drunk. As you can imagine.
Really?
How unusual. Yeah. He went up to this Chinese kung fu artist and said, you're a fraud, darling. You're just a bloody film star. You're probably gay. And you're absolutely no good. Come for us all. And the Chinaman went, yes, yeah. He went up to this table and he went, da! And the table went, he shot it in half. Hotel, well, they were on the little occasional tables. Oh, darling, anybody can do that. Yeah. No. And practically broke his wrist. And then all hell broke loose, and they started chucking furniture around, and they just smashed up the hotel. And in my naivety, because I'd never done these things before, I thought, but that's ridiculous. I mean, we're supposed to be making a film. Everyone's going, poor old innocent thing. And in fact, it turned out, I think, that the film was actually a tax loss for the company, because nobody got paid.
Wow.
But I mean, all I remember is Oliver Reed just sort of going. It was a joke. The whole thing was a joke. So that was a bit disillusioning.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. So the books really is full of those sort of stories, but not only showbiz stories, but stories about my relationship with my parents, and all through school, of course, how it happened, and sort of things that happened along the way, triumphs, disasters. So I love that quote. I was in If, isn't it? If you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two imposters just the same, and I would say you're a better man than I am. But no, it's it's full of oh God, what did I do that for? But some nice bits as well, some nice jolly bits as well.
Before I came here, I gave the opportunity for some of my followers to ask some questions. And someone wanted to know if there was a particular failure or really hard event in your life that maybe you found the hardest to overcome, and then how you overcame it. I know it's not like the most cheery question, but
no, it isn't. No, I swear. No, I went through a very bad time. I don't know how bad it was really. One of my third marriage just broken up in appalling circumstances. I basically discovered my wife with somebody else, which is not what you want to do. And both my parents died, not because of that, but this all happened within 2 years.
Wow.
And suddenly I had no backstop, and I was completely sort of adrift and not in a good state. And as usual, the best place to be was in the pub, with the lads, and nothing mattered anymore. And the extraordinary thing was, though, I was working. The work was going very well. Personally, I was in a terrible state, really. Because I didn't sort of realise until later. But luckily, I suppose I've always been lucky in that respect. I met my present wife, Carol, who was also slightly adrift. And it was one of those, where have you been all my life sort of thing, and sort of realisation that your judgment was hopeless, really, and these sort of things. It's very difficult in this profession, really, because they always say an actor should never have a mortgage. And you really shouldn't be married. You should be on the end of a phone and go where the work is. And then you meet a lot of people and form quite intense relationships with them for a short period of time. Then you move on to another set of people. So it's a strange business from that point of view. But I think that was the worst time in my life. As I say, I was very lucky to have met Carol at that time, because I was pretty shaky. Was
Carol the sort of the turning point that moved you out of it, or was there like a trigger moment, or or how did you get yourself out of that? Because having those three things happen all in 2 years is must be really difficult. I haven't had anything like that happen yet to me in my life. And was there a day where you're like, right, come on, have a word with yourself, let's.
The great thing really was, the lucky thing was that I knew what was happening. I didn't just go, I knew it was wrong. And as I say, I had to rein it in a bit anyway because I was working. So, and I'm not one of those people who can go on stage drunk and do a perfectly good performance.
No.
I wish I was. No, perhaps not. But no, it was really, as I say, meeting the right person who was willing to take me on and be patient and then help me through it, I guess. And then I suddenly realised the qualities that had been missing in any other relationship I'd had with a woman. And so that was very lucky. It was exactly the right place, right time again. So I've been very lucky like that, I think.
So I've got some more quicker fire ones. Look, you don't have to do them quick. You can do them slow if you want. Your favourite storyline or memorable moment on Only Fools and Horses?
I think for the character, when he discovered what his first name was, it was a séance scene, I think, in an episode called Sickness and Wealth. And there was a séance in a room above the nag's head because I think Delboy was trying to reach his mother from beyond the grave and something, I can't quite remember. But the medium, Elsie Partridge, came along and there's just this wonderful scene, this séance, and she starts off going, everyone's going, Christ, somebody's going to appear at any minute. And then it finishes up, she says, I've got a message for someone called Audrey. No, Aubrey. So all the lads, we're all sitting around the table like this with our fingers together. Everyone's looking at each other going, oh, that's not. There's this long pause, and eventually Boycie says, I am here. And it just brought the house down, you know. Because it's a brilliant piece of writing. The way it was shot was just fantastic. But I think for the character, that's my favourite scene.
Yeah.
Do you know, there's so many, the Batman and Robin sequence, you know.
Yeah.
Heroes and villains, I think, was just, again, a classic piece of writing. And so unexpected, you know. It's all about surprise, isn't it? It's all about ambushing the audience. And he was brilliant at that, John Sullivan. Brilliant.
If you hadn't have played Boycie, was there any other character you'd have loved to have played? Or any character you'd have loved to have played?
Yeah, I'd love to have played Marlene.
Yeah. Sounds like you'd have been good at it from your previous experience.
I played a pantomime Dane before, you know. Oh gosh, that's very difficult. I suppose, I always liked the Trigger character.
Yeah.
Roger was just so wonderful in that. It's just a different planet, wasn't he? It's funny because he started off being the villain of the piece slightly, Trigger, and then Boycie came on the scene, so he started to veer off towards this different planet, didn't he? And and then he lived in his own little world. But I just remember sitting there listening to him talking about the fact that he had the same broom his whole career. 16 different heads and 14 different hands. Just look after your broom.
That's one of the best, yeah.
And Nicky going, and your broom will look after you. I remember sitting there listening to this going, we got the giggles. I mean, David and Nicholas and I just couldn't stop laughing. It's just one of those where you don't know what you're laughing at, you lose sight of what you're laughing at, you just can't stop laughing there. And, God, hilarious. No, I think it was my other favourite character, really.
Okay. Have you ever really been focused on the money, or had to be focused on the money because you've got to pay the mortgage, or have you just always been about the work and the art?
Oh no, I've always wanted to earn money because I've always wanted to live in a certain way, you know, and earn money so I can fund that. You know, and if I earn money by doing something I really love doing, I mean that's a big bonus for me. I did a lot of voiceover work at the end of the 70s and into the 80s. Yeah. In the good old days, charging around the studios in Soho, and I earned quite a lot of money there, but I can't say I loved doing it because basically you're talking about frozen peas and drain clear liquids, and you know. But again, it's great because you can invent characters, you know, and I did quite a lot of voiceovers because I could do silly voices, you know. But that was a great time. I was going out sort of 3-4 times a week. Yeah. You know, and a lot of money doing voices. No, if the two things go together, that's perfect for me. But I mean, art is a tart as far as I'm concerned. But I mean, if people just sort of throw these things up and say, "Look how artistic it is," I'm going, "Really? I'm not so sure." It's all Emperor's New Clothes to me. A lot of it. Yeah. You know.
Okay, thank you. Other than what we talked about before about, you know, following your dream and trying it, have you got any one tip for aspiring creatives and actors and actresses and people who want to follow a dream?
Well, yes, I have. As we said before, I mean, do follow that dream. If you've got that dream and it's in you and you want to do it, for heaven's sake, do it. Go out and do it. You know, find a way to do it. There's a great brochure, I don't know, magazine, whatever it is called Contacts. Do you know? And it's full of film companies, sound studios, radio contacts, obviously stage and television and so on. Yeah. And it's a thinnish book, you know, but everything's in there. So if you want to just
There's a
write
fly
to every...
gone up my leg.
Hmm?
There's a fly gone up my leg.
Oh dear.
There's a
Has it been up there before?
Matt, there he is, look. A massive big, he's been crawling around the place.
Enormous.
And I thought, something's going up my leg. And I,
No,
but look, I've half killed him, look.
I know, he's not going to recover from going up your leg, is he?
No, because
Might be a wasp or something.
I got a little bit of a moment there.
I'm not surprised.
I
Anyway,
feel quite bad now for him. Sorry to interrupt you there, but
no.
They don't sting, do they?
It depends what it is.
They went up my leg.
Yeah, I just get contacts, write to everybody, get some photographs done. As I say, learn some speeches, go and audition for drama schools, and you need a lot of determination. I was lucky, really, because I grew up in a time when you could just fall into it.
Yeah.
And if you had anything about you, as I say, you'd get on. So I never went to drama school. But these days, I guess that's the best showcase.
Yeah.
Because at least you can get yourself on, people will come and see it, and hopefully you'll pick up an agent or somewhere.
I suppose in the modern day, you get your work out on YouTube, get your work out on social media. There's other ways to get it seen.
Yeah.
Okay, great. How'd you like to be remembered?
I was somebody who gave people pleasure. That's all. Somebody who entertained people.
Yeah.
And I made their lives a bit smilier. I suppose that's all.
Yeah.
Really. I think I have. I think I've sort of achieved that. Really. Well, from what people say.
Well,
anyway,
you're a big part of mine and my parents' lives growing up.
No. Well, thank you very much. Thank you. Yes, as I say, I go out and sell the books at sort of food fairs and garden fairs and all these sort of things. And people are very complimentary, I have to say. They outweigh the uncomplimentary people by quite a lot. So no, it's.
You get a few though, do you, who give you a bit of?
I mean, well, not really, sort of viciously rude or anything. Just sort of a studied indifference.
Yeah.
And some carping comment will come in. I mean, a woman came out to me and said, "I gather you're some sort of television personality." Well, I'm here to tell you, I never watched television, and walked off. I thought, why did she bother to do that? Just walk on by, But no, she had to come up and say it,
Yeah.
So, so no, there are very few of those, I must say.
I take it there'll never be any more Only Fools and Horses.
No, I think because John Sullivan passed away, 6-7 years ago or something.
Yeah.
Which is a terrible loss, I think, for everybody, not just for us.
Yeah.
But he had so much more to give, I think. So I think it's unlikely because you wanted always to try and be up towards that standard.
Yeah.
I think it'd be very disappointing for people if it.
Yeah.
If it
And you
dipped
could just
below that.
ruin it, couldn't you? It could be ruined. Yeah. Okay. Best advice and worst advice, if you can remember, that you ever got.
The worst advice was a tax man a long time ago, who said, "You don't seem to be very successful at what you're doing, Mr. Challis. Why don't you give it up and do something sensible?" So I said, in a brief, illuminated moment, I said, "What, and become a tax inspector?" And he said, "There's no need to be offensive," which I thought was very significant. So that was the worst advice. The best advice I had. I was an old actor laddie from years ago in Bexhill-on-Sea, of all places, one of the first theatres I ever worked in. He just said, "Dear boy," he said, "You're a very, very, very talented young man," he said, "but you'll have to wait until you are 40 years old before you get the recognition you deserve." I said, I thought, well, if I'm not making it by the time I'm 30, I'm giving up. He said, don't give up. I'm telling you, you have to get a bit older. Realise your talent. He was absolutely right. I was 39 when I got to Only Fools and Horses.
Right. So that was like some kind of
He said,
prophecy.
wait. He said, wait. Some people, I remember him saying, some people are instant and they burn like a firework, then it's all over. But some people have a long tail, he said. They go on, and you are one of those. Oliver Fisher, his name was.
Yeah.
I always remembered it. You know, so I mean, I suppose that's the best advice, really.
Yeah.
To, you know, don't give up. Don't be patient, because I'm a pretty impatient person, really.
Yeah, well, that's the paradox, isn't it? Most successful people are very impatient, yet they have to learn patience.
Yeah.
And in this world of instant everything, I just see people giving up all the time, or jumping from thing to thing.
Yeah, because they're in instant gratification. Everybody wants, don't they?
And they see it all edited down, and reality TV, and you know, the pop culture, and they think, oh well, I can get that real quick. I can be like that, and they've been doing it their whole life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So your autobiography, please, can you tell us about it and what it's called?
Yes, it's in 2 parts. The first part's called Being Boycie. Actually, it's slightly mistitled. Actually, it should be Becoming Boycie, really, because it's about the early life and how I got there, stories along the way, it's all the stuff, television I did before that. You know, I mean, the Beatles story is part of that. Z-Car, I was in Z-Cars on a semi-regular basis. It's a big thrill. But I did the Sweeney.
Yeah.
All sorts of
Doctor
stuff.
Who.
Doctor Who, yeah. Coronation Street, and all that sort of thing. And so that, and then it goes up to about the 4th series when Marlene came into the show. I thought that's a good place to stop.
Yeah.
So the first part, Being Boycie, is pre-Marlene.
Yeah.
And the second part, Boycie and Beyond, is post-Marlene.
Right. And can we get that on Amazon, etc.?
Well, I wouldn't recommend that. No.
No?
I think you should get onto my website.
Right, we need to get it directly from you.
Yeah. Well, you get a personal dedication, you see.
Right. There you
It's
go.
the only place you get it. You won't get that on Amazon.
No.
You might get the book a bit cheaper.
So your website is?
My website is Wigmore Books, which is my publishing company.
Yeah.
WIGMORE books.com.
Okay. And this is going to sound maybe a bit ridiculous to you, but I'm just going to talk you through my emotions. So all the way up here, and probably for about the last few days when I've thought about this interview, I don't want to be another person that asks you to do the voice and say Marlene, but I have to be. So
Yeah.
Can we end on that?
No.
I want you to say a little bit of, with Boycie and, you know, and say Marlene. I mean, you did say in one of your videos that you like to make people smile, and this tends to make people happy. So you'd make one person happy if you could do that.
Okay, come along, Rob. If you're not careful, I'll set Marlene on you. And then we'll all have to get our coats and leave very quickly.
John,
That was it.
that's perfect. John, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.